The John, Anik, and Kenny Florian podcast. John, Anik, and Kenny Florian.
I fucking love them. I can't get enough of them.
Let's hear that Boston next.
Big jab there from Duffy, and Frank Mir is hurt now. Down goes Duffy, out cold. Frank Mir does it again. Rock'em sock'em robots here. Oh my goodness.
Hyperbole.
There are a couple of absolutely self-involved bullshit artists.
Here are your hosts, John, Anik, and Kenny Florian.
Oh, is it great to be with you. Sunday, June 5th. The year is 2022. It's episode 351 of the Anik and Florian podcast. If you're on the video side today, this is quite the wardrobe coordination, huh? Ken-Flo wearing a black t-shirt that says crew, and I basically look like I'm wearing a UFC crew shirt. It is what it is, huh?
We're in production, technically. So,
Yeah.
you know, we definitely look like we're like backstage production guys.
We're going to wear prison outfits next week.
Yeah, well organized.
So how was Boston, kid, huh? How was the fucking seminar?
Dude, it was wicked pissa. No, I loved it, dude. It was great to be back home. I haven't seen my brother Keith in a very long time. Got to see my other brother, my sister, which was awesome. It's been way too long. Got to go back to Florian Martial Arts Center. Did a fun seminar. Great to see the guys again, and great to be back in Boston. Boston's just a great city. When it's summertime, springtime, even fall, it's just such a great energy in there. You got the Celtics in the finals. It's just it's a good vibe over there, man.
Yeah. Philadelphia, it is not, incidentally. Right?
Yeah.
I'll be at Fenway Park on July 24th.
Oh, nice.
Taking my children there, so I'm very excited about that for the first time. So
yeah.
All good things. Well, I'm glad you had a good trip. I'd imagine that was pretty emotional reconnecting with Keith and obviously seeing your nieces and Edgar, I believe, right? You saw Edgar as well.
I didn't see Edgar. I saw Michael.
What about the doctor? How's Michael doing?
I saw Kara. He's doing great. My sister's doing great, and got to get some food with those guys, and it was good to spend time with them. I haven't seen them in a long time, and
parents not necessarily in Massachusetts, though, right?
Exactly. I wasn't able to see them.
They're hiding out. Notice how Dr. Florian, just like Kenny, will not reveal where he is.
How was your trip, dude?
I'm here at the Residence Inn. I'm here at the Residence Inn in Las Vegas. I am not in Singapore.
Okay.
I just called the fights last night. I'll be here until tomorrow night, at which time I'll fly to San Francisco with our producer, Michael LaPlante. And then we go, and then we go San Francisco to Singapore, and all systems go. You know, we got these random start times, right? We got to weigh in is like Friday night, ceremonial and official, right? So we don't have the split weigh-in, and the fighters will have that whole Saturday to recover, and then the first fight is 6:30 a.m. on Sunday morning. You know, cool. We're undeterred, right? We're fucking undeterred. All systems go. But it's good to see you. We have a lot to get into. It was UFC Fight Night, Volkov versus Rozenstruik. Obviously, the back heavy part of the show is going to be UFC 275. But we begin headlines with the UFC heavyweight main event involving Alexander Volkov and Jairzinho Rozenstruik. And we will get to the fight itself in a minute, but I have to lead with this. So I saw Biggie Boy here at the Residence Inn right after the fight. And instead of coming up to us, me and Paul Felder, and saying, you know, man, I thought it was stopped early or whatever, he sort of said, what am I doing wrong? You know, like, I'm putting in all the work. I know. See, you're raising your eyebrows because these interactions are tricky, right? And I know it's behind the scenes stuff. Fans really like enjoy hearing it, but it's a tricky navigation because, you know, I'm not even stoned. And he's coming up to me and saying, you know, what am I doing wrong? You know, I don't know if I need to switch camps. I mean, I'm at the best camp in the world, American Top Team, but, you know, I seem to do all the right things, and then, you know, I don't get the desired result. And I do think that he stepped away a little bit from recency in terms of his aggression and seemed to be in a hurry a little bit, I think, and that sort of dovetails with what he said in our fighter meeting. Like, he felt pressure to go for it, did Jairzinho Rozenstruik, and he paid for it. I guess with that backdrop, your thoughts on that in the main event?
Geez, that's an interesting story, you know, and again, it's a testament to how difficult this can be on you physically, spiritually. You know, this is a crazy sport. But it seems like a real honest account from him. I think that a lot of times you can put in this work, you change things up, you think you're doing things right, and the fight sports will just kick you in the ass. And I think what happened here was, I don't care what kind of striker you are, or what kind of technique you have, how much experience you have, going against a guy who's 6'8" is always going to be difficult. It
Yeah.
just is. It's a very unorthodox approach that you have to take. Your whole range is off. Trying to get on the inside, trying to be slick and get out the outside without getting hit is a very difficult thing. And it seemed like also Volkov had an excellent night. He looked to be in tremendous shape. He looked really focused. He was using the right weapons. And Rozenstruik just didn't seem to have an answer. And it seemed like, he was kind of winging shots and really didn't have much of a plan from what I was seeing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's tough to say, did Rozenstruik have a bad night or did Volkov have a great night, or was it a combination of both? I don't know.
Yeah.
But what a performance from Volkov. Got to feel bad for Rozenstruik, who was on such a great streak. Everyone was really high on him. And now here he is on kind of on the downside here. And it was tough to see.
Certainly, I want to keep the focus on Alexander Volkov. And what I did say to Jairzinho Rozenstruik, not that it's time to push the reset button, but, maybe you go out to elevation and spend a little time with Curtis Blades, a former opponent, right? And maybe it just gives you sort of confidence as far as maybe other parts of your game, and not that you're going to do any great things in 2 weeks or 4 weeks or even 6 months necessarily. But, I didn't necessarily know what to say. I was a little bit caught off guard, but he's a great dude. And we did talk about getting him on the on this here Anik and Florian podcast. But yeah, Volkov looked good. And, Volkov said to us in our fighter meeting, like, I was prepared for Aspinall. Like, I had a really good training camp. I was in really good shape, even though he has since made changes dating to that training camp. But, he was crediting Tom Aspinall, like he was hungry and ready to go and motivated that night. So
it looked like it. It definitely looked like it. That was the first thing I saw. I was like, this guy's turned on. He's ready to rock. And you could see that he's got that mindset. My brother and I were discussing this, Keith, how, certain fighters, they get either, a couple losses or one loss or encounter some adversity, and they're never the same. It's almost like it affects their confidence and they don't know how to come back from that. And you look at, a lot of the real fighters, the guys that, know how to come back from dealing with the loss and knowing how to adjust and looking at it honestly and addressing those issues. And of course, having the right mentorship. Sometimes you're guided in the wrong direction, but I think that it's a rarity. Sometimes guys don't have that same spark in the gym after a loss. Sometimes you get guys that come back harder than ever and train harder than ever and smarter than ever. Volkov seemed like he was absolutely motivated by that fight from Aspinall, and was on fire in this fight and got a great result because of it.
I don't really care much for the early stoppage discussion. I feel like footwork wise, maybe Herb Dean could have given a little bit more space, because then I think he kind of forced his own hand to stop the fight when he did. Certainly, I am more leaning in this day and age towards the Dominic Cruz school of thinking. I would like to see a fighter, especially a heavyweight in a main event setting, get a little bit of a longer leash, but I think that this finish was an eventuality, so I'm not going to sit here and necessarily criticize the stoppage. I guess I don't always like focusing on that and not the martial arts, as I've said repeatedly on these airwaves. You got anything for us on the stoppage before we move on?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it, to be honest. I think that right hand was absolutely brutal. That had hurt Rozenstruik.
Yep.
And of course, fighters can come back from that, but he was eating a lot of shots up to that point. And even though, he kind of drifted off at an angle, I thought he was just going to eat that much more blows, and seemed like he was still hurt from it. Even though he was on his feet, you could still be out and not competent of what you're doing, where you are. And I didn't really have a problem with the stuff.
And you can certainly get concussed and not have a scratch on you, as was the case with Jairzinho Rozenstruik. All right. So much has been made of the UFC bantamweight division and how good that top 8 to 10 is, and rightfully so. But how about the UFC's division at 145 pounds? And let us get to Movsar Evloev. My goodness, man. I don't know that anyone has done more with 6 decision wins in the UFC than this guy, right? Yes, you can criticize the fact that he hasn't put somebody away. But my God, if he is not just wildly entertaining to watch, mixes all the martial arts, and he's fought a really good strength of schedule, and he beats these guys like 30 to 25. What'd you think of the co-main event, and what do you think about Movsar Evloev now injected into this featherweight top 10 in the UFC?
Listen, I think he's going to be a tough out for anyone at 145 pounds. I still think he's a developing striker. I like that he was willing and seemed way more comfortable to go out there and throw some different strikes. I think it took him a little while to heat up after that first round. It seemed like he was just moving straight backwards, straight forwards, really wasn't cutting angles. But I thought the strikes that he was throwing seemed to be sharper than he was throwing in the past. I like the way he sets up his takedowns. And once he gets his hands on you, man, he's got to be probably the best takedown artist in that division right now. He gets a hold of your leg and he's going to put you on the mat, period. So I think that, everyone's always going to try to look for the comparisons when you get a dominant wrestler like that. And from that area, everyone's going to always make the comparisons to guys like a Khabib Nurmagomedov. I don't think he has that control aspect down like Khabib did, but he's on his way. And again, and even his efficiency, he's not the most efficient guy, but at the end of the fight, he wasn't even breathing. I mean, he wasn't even breathing, and he threw a ton of strikes. He was doing a lot of suplexes and a lot of high power lifts. And the dude, his mouth was completely closed at the end of the fight, like he went for a walk in the park. And Ige is a tough dude, man.
He really is.
Ige just is not a quitter. We know that. He hits hard as hell. And he was fighting every second of the fight the best that he could. Just Evloev was just way too much.
Someone came up to me. They're like, "You quit jiu-jitsu." I'm like, Ken-Flo fucking quit soccer, man. But Movsar is getting a big fight. And a lot of people who were making a case for Dan Ige at plus 310 or so just felt like he could maybe land that big shot. And even though he had some moments here or there, he never was able to do so. And man, it's tough for Ige now. All of a sudden, I think he's lost 4 or 5 after a 6-fight winning streak. And I just think it speaks to just the brutal nature of this sport. But I'm just excited to see Evloev continue to test himself. I think the Arnold Allen fight makes a lot of sense. To my knowledge, Arnold Allen is not matched up right now. Somebody also suggested Thug Nasty, Bryce Mitchell, sign me the fuck up for that one as well. It looks like that
division's insane, dude.
I'm telling you, man.
So good.
And sitting home, Volkov, obviously, who is completing his trilogy with Max Holloway here in a few weeks. You have the main event on ABC with Yair Rodriguez and Brian Ortega, Calvin Cater. Actually a pretty big favorite over Josh Emmett. I was surprised to see Josh Emmett plus 195 in some spots. Perhaps worthy of a little more respect on the name Joshua Emmett. But we congratulate Movsar Evloev, and a big night for Pahumpa, who wasn't initially scheduled to corner Jairzinho Rozenstruik, but I think he got 4 wins on this night and certainly could have gotten another one with Zhalga Zhumagulov. Great fight of the night with Lucas Almeida and Michael Trezano. Great finish for Karini Silva against Poliana Botelho. What'd you make of that Darce choke? Just the second Darce choke by a woman in UFC history for Karini Killer Silva.
I was impressed with the choke, and I was impressed with that right hand that landed, and then the follow-up takedown. I mean, Botelho was really hurt after that right hand. She followed up, and she was calm throughout the fight, and then once she had her moment to finish it, man, did she go for it. And it was just perfect timing, excellent killer instinct. That was a big win for her, and beautiful execution of that choke. Botelho tried everything she could to not tap to it, but boy, was that thing tight, man.
Yeah, UFC debut for Karini Killer Silva, a teammate of Tyler Santos, at least at one time. I don't know if they're teammates right now, but she's excited to see what Tyler Santos can do this coming weekend against Valentina Shevchenko. And I do believe she beat, the best version of Poliana Botelho this weekend. She was in a very good place. The sharps were all over her. So congratulations to Karini Silva. All right, Ode Osborne over Zaruka Dashev by knockout. And this is a nice knockout win over a former Glory kickboxing champion. I thought it was really interesting when Ode Osborne said in the post-fight interview that when you fight somebody like this, you got to get a little bit unorthodox, and certainly creativity is no problem for the budding flyweight contender Ode Osborne. But his entire UFC career has been a fucking math teacher in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, teaching 5th and 6th grade math. Mr. O is no more. Sorry, students. He's in Florida, right? No, he's in Las Vegas. Excuse me. Sorry, I got excited. He's in Las Vegas training under John Wood, and it was really interesting to hear Ode talk about just the father figure and just not just the professional, but the personal, that how much John Wood as a human being has helped him. Ode's living alone for the first time, moved to Jamaica moved from Brooklyn, New York to Jamaica when he was 9, he's bounced all around. I'm really happy for Ode Osborne, and obviously gets a big knockout win here over the weekend.
That's awesome. It's great to hear John Wood get some love. Obviously, he's been doing a phenomenal job as a coach. I've known John a long time. He's a great dude and remains so.
When did you first connect with John Wood? Do you remember?
I guess I was fighting probably 2007 or something like that. 2008 when John was fighting. Yeah, when John was a professional fighter, and he's turned into a fantastic coach, and got a chance to see him a few weeks ago in a PFL event. But he's doing great, dude. And Osborne, I didn't know a whole lot about him, but I want to know more. It was a phenomenal knockout. That dude was throwing heat, except I think he was a little overly aggressive. He was throwing himself out of position. Osborne took advantage of it, landed some nice clean shots, and finished it when he needed to. And talk about killer instinct from Osborne as well, dude. Those follow-up shots on the ground, just put him to sleep, man. That was pretty sick.
Yeah, not playing around, stiff as a board. All right, so Alonzo Menafield defeated Askar Mozarov in the main card opener. I would imagine with everything that was on your plate in Boston, you weren't necessarily following what was going on with Askar Mozarov and the different professional records, right? So I get my first UFC fighter bio. He's 25-7, right? Then all of a sudden we get like a reissue and he's 21-11. He ends up being 19-12. And I really should grab my fighter card on him because I have a lot of notes. But, I feel for him in some way, right? And there are a lot of people who have absolutely no sympathy for this guy and they think that he's a liar. But basically, to my knowledge, he's fought under different names, to which he explained that like maybe he was under his stepfather's name and then he changed his name. And, there were also some rumblings of some other things that I'm not really going to get into. But, he looks into a camera and says, hey, I've taken like every fight they've given me since I'm 18 years old, building to this moment. And obviously Alonzo Menafield like really took it out on him. And there's so many different layers to it. I would encourage you to watch what Alonzo Menafield had to say at the post-fight press conference. But Alonzo Menafield, what he wants you to know, since we feel like we're a pretty technical show here, is that he has a high fight IQ. Yes, I'm a monster. Yes, I'm powerful. Yes, I'm strong. Yes, I like to get knockouts, right? The more traditional way and not in the crucifix, right? But he felt like this was the path of least resistance. Obviously, he can grapple. He watches a bunch of Division I NCAA wrestling. And, I'm not saying championship ceiling for Menafield, but he has gotten through that like patch of adversity, and I'm encouraged. What do you got? You're smirking.
I thought you were going to say he doesn't like guys with neck tattoos. That's what I thought you were going to say. Dude, he looked motivated. He seemed like a guy that had something to prove out there and has been strengthened by some adversity. He's been in some crazy fights, man. I thought it was the smart approach. And I thought that he was just taking full advantage of that guy on the ground. I mean, getting to that crucifix position repeatedly, taking him down easily. He was firing on all cylinders, man. I thought it was a great performance for Menafield.
It's a motivated man, and he did bring Pat Barry into the camp. It seemed like maybe Alonzo Menafield's wife thought like Pat Barry's energy and some of his, technical experience would help. And it seems to have given Zoe some confidence. Obviously, it all runs through the general, Saif Saud, who had a memorable night in his own right. We're not going to probably get to Damon Jackson and Daniel Argueta, but this Apex really provides for some interesting backdrops with no fans and no noise. And this was as quiet an Apex night as I can remember since we've allowed fans to get in there. And so Saif's like talking shit to the fighter, because Argueta has a bunch of shit to say, fighting off his back. And so Saif starts saying, man, you have an awful lot to say. And in the other corner is Cub Swanson, and many of you may know that Saif Saud started at Jackson Wink MMA, so then he and Cub start to get into it. And I think Cub might have insinuated that, like, you've never been on the bottom. Saif 1-0 as a pro and had a pretty serious injury. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Plenty more coming up, of course, on UFC Fight Night, Volkov versus Rozenstruik in the Ray Longo Minute. But UFC 275 is absolutely loaded, and you can step into the octagon with DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC. Knockout, submission, or even a judge's decision. God, we love those. No matter who wins or how the fight ends, new customers can bet $5 on UFC 275 and get $150 in free bets instantly. So many compelling matchups on the card upon which to bet. I think maybe you're going to get a finish in the main event. The rematch between Zhang Weili and Joanna Jędrzejczyk, and maybe somebody out there wants to take a flyer on Tyler Santos in the plus 500 range. But whatever your cup of tea is, if you're looking to make money, DraftKings Sportsbook this weekend. If you're looking for a bigger payday for your buck, you can check out the newest UFC feature at DraftKings Sportsbook. Same game parlays. You combine multiple bets, such as which fighter will win, the number of knockouts, and more, and that gives you a shot at an even bigger payout. And right now, you can place a same game parlay for Saturday's UFC 275 event, and if it hits, you will double your winnings. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code Anik. Throw down $5 on UFC 275 and get $150 in free bets instantly. That is code Anik, A-N-I-K, this Saturday at DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Ray Longo's old enough, so is Ken-Flo. Let's get to the Ray Longo Minute.
It's now time for the Ray Longo Minute.
I want you to punch a hole in his fucking chest. That's what I want.
The Ray Longo Minute. Starring Ray Longo. The John Anik and Kenny Florian podcast.
Ray Longo.
Man.
Ray Longo. What's the problem?
You got
You
got some energy today, boy. Some energy.
I'm at the old Residence Inn in Las Vegas. There's like 3 of us here. It is
You're
a
still
ghost
there?
town. Yeah, well, I'm going to Singapore tomorrow, so.
Oh man. Oof.
I don't know if it's in your television.
Casual.
Mike,
Just headed to Singapore tonight.
Yeah, just heading to Singapore. How you getting there? Rowboat?
Oh, it's going to be a long one, Raymond. It's going to be a long one.
How long is that flight from Vegas?
I'm flying to San Francisco, and then we'll hop on a different metal tube there to Singapore. I don't know, like 15 hours. Yeah, it is what it is. You are looking awfully golden. Did you get in a fight with the sun?
Yeah, we're starting to get some nice weather. I love it.
You look good.
Do a lot of bike rides.
It's unbelievable.
The hair's on point too. Look, he combed his hair for the show. Look at that.
I actually did. Holy shit.
Looks sharp.
You look like a guy with an IMDb page, and I know you have one. It's good to see you, my man. What's going on?
Nothing much, man. Nothing much. Enjoying the nice weather.
So before we get into some of the Sarah Longo related stuff,
wow.
I just was curious if you had any thoughts on the UFC Fight Night over the weekend. I mean, we certainly spent some time on the main event. We talked about Movsar Evloev, a lot of finishes, great fight of the night with Almeida and the Tiger Schulman product, Michael Trezano. I just didn't know if you had anything for us on that. We got a lot to get to with 275 and MERRROW and all that.
Yeah, no, I thought a really good night of fights. You're right. The Trezano fight was phenomenal. Anytime you get one guy knocks one guy down in the first round and he knocks the other guy down in the second round, and who's going to take the third round? I thought that was that was an exciting fight. And the Ige fight was exciting because Ige's a gamer, and man, he was a big underdog, and after the fight for good reason. But you can never count that kid out.
Oh, man.
And I thought,
yeah.
And I thought the first fight, what's her name?
Erin
I got to tell you, Mick, that's a girl that's been in the gym a couple of times. She used to spar with Mizuki, would come in quiet, never said a word. I don't even know if I had a conversation with her. The trainer was quiet. They'd come in, they do their work. I watched her kind of grow and get better and better. I haven't seen her in a while, but man, she's really killing it, man. I thought that was a great fight for her. I thought she was having a little difficulty, but man, when she latched onto that neck, she took advantage of it and finished the fight. So hats off to her, man. I think she's just one of those girls that's a hard worker. She's young and she's got a really bright future.
I'm so glad you brought her up because candidly, fight 1 of 14, she might have ended up on the cutting room floor here on the show. And I think in the women's flyweight division, she could have some serious traction. I'm excited to see what she can do. JJ, she fought again. It sounds trite, but like she fought the best JJ Aldrich and smoked her.
Yeah, JJ was looking good too. She was she was doing good.
Yeah. All right, so Aljamain Sterling, I spent some time with him in Phoenix, and I don't know how long he is for this fight game. Maybe 2 or 3 more title defenses. Obviously the neck surgery, and he's been at it a while. Sometimes we forget how long these guys have been at it. We're going to get to Brendan Allen a little bit when we get to the main event challenge. And, dude made his pro debut at 19 years old, already has 23 pro fights. It's a lot of miles. But Aljamain Sterling has talked a lot about MERRROW Dvalishvili recently, and it was interesting to hear Aljo talk about moving up to 145 pounds to pave the way for the Georgian MERRROW, if MERRROW can somehow get a fight,
Yeah, no, listen, man, when I heard that, Aljo's just, I think he's just getting better and better. You know what I mean? What a nice kid. He's really, some guys go one direction after they win the title. He's definitely becoming a better person. I could see the fact that he even said, if Merab wins, he'll move up to 45 so Merab could have his shot. I think speaks volumes about how close these guys are. I mean, I love to see that. Instead of, you've seen teammates turn on each other and it's my time and I want to fight and I deserve this. And they're not going to do it. And I love it. I love the culture we built in that gym. I love all the guys in the gym. And when somebody came to me and told me that, I go, wow, that's just blowing my mind away. Because Merab was saying he would move down to 25. But then I guess Aljo came out and said he would move to 145. So
yeah, we don't need Merab fighting at flyweight.
No. Yeah. So I think that was I just think that was a nice thing. Let's see how it plays out. Yeah, I think it's amazing.
I just wrote down the word culture and then it came out of your mouth. It's like, forget Miami Heat culture, the Longo culture. We would print the shirts that say Longo culture, but just don't want to get in trouble with Matt Serra, so we're not going to print the
But
Longo
you gotta leave his name out. You can't put him in there.
Well, no, we could sell Longo culture for shirts. I just don't want to offend anybody. I mean, you don't think Raging Ally Quinta would be walking all over New York State wearing his Longo culture shirt? Cody, can you get some Longo culture shirts, please? Thank you.
Sleeveless.
But I will say about Aljamain Sterling, and to our Russian audience, maybe this is going to fall on some deaf ears, but a lot of us in the public eye feel perpetually misunderstood. And he's such a good dude, man, with a good heart and a clear-intentioned man. And I don't know, man. I just think there's a lot of venom and hate out there in the MMA space, especially for him. Ken-Flo's misunderstood, right? It's like everybody thinks he's a nice guy. He's a fucking asshole.
No, but like even I thought he did a great job on Rogan, and I think Joe did a great job in saying you're just an honest, nice guy. Like there's no. He's quirky. Sometimes I think he could be misunderstood, but at the end of the day, he does the right thing. And I think he expresses himself beautifully. So I thought, it was a great job he did with Rogan. And I think Joe, again, picked up on just what an honest, down to earth guy he is. I thought it was great. I thought it was great.
I should listen to that on my way to Singapore, run some clock there on the airplane. All right. UFC 275. Teixeira versus Prochazka. First title defense for Glover. He's plus 165 as the underdog. Yuri Prochazka is 2-0 in the UFC, but really I think bided his time well in terms of arriving at the UFC. He was offered a chance to come to the UFC a couple of years before he actually came, wanted to accrue more experience, develop more skills. What do you think about the light heavyweight championship main event here in about 6 or 7 days? And ultimately, I guess you're probably just backing the old guy, huh?
Oh, there's no question about it. Listen, how could you not like Glover Teixeira and the way he handles himself as a champion? Again, it's not what people like. He's not brash. He's not talking stupid. Just a freaking nice guy. He goes to the local shows. He talks to everybody. Dude, that's what I like. You know what I mean? I really dislike the other way. So yeah, I'm pulling for him. This kid's a mad hatter. He's got some crazy unorthodox techniques that obviously, could catch Glover. But I think if Glover could get that fight to the floor, he probably will submit him, So, but I think, this he's looked really good. And he's like, again, he looks like he enjoys being in there. He does some crazy shit that I think will give, Glover some problems. But, you can't count him out, man. And he's got that other guy to spar with, which I think is a big help. Pereira, I think his name is.
Yep.
So I'm pulling for Glover, man. I don't really. I love what he's done. I love the story, and he beats this guy. That's a huge win. Man. Huge. That's a huge win. And the fact that they have him at a plus 165, which isn't that bad, I think tells you something.
Yeah. And certainly a Yuri Prochazka win, I think promotionally would be significant because the nature of his style is such that I think you'd really build a division around him. But Glover's a really difficult guy to beat. And obviously his 1-6 consecutive fights. Obviously Ken-Flo needs to save some of his bullets here. But I wanted to get into Valentina Shevchenko a little bit because when people ask me who is the greatest mixed martial arts athlete I've ever seen, maybe too simplistically, I answer John Jones, Kenny, when I keep coming back to Valentina, man, as these title defenses continue to mount up, not unlike John Jones or George St. Pierre. And I guess the question that I had prepared for you, Ray, was that if you were able to get in Caitlin Chukagian's ear, were she to get a second chance against Valentina, what do you do? Like, what do you do if you're really trying to beat this woman to save a life or so? What do you do? What do you do? What do you do if you're Tyler Santos this weekend? What do you do?
I mean, that's a big question because this girl is unbelievable. I think if you look at the odds on her last 10 fights, I mean, how many people have been minus 1,200 in their like it's just insane. They give no chance at all. But look, I think you have to go for it with her. I mean, you got to really take risks, and you got to just hope that you get I don't want to say get lucky, but you got to make it a dogfight. It's not easy, but I don't know. She's a sharpshooter and she's squared away. I don't know. That's tough. I mean, I'd really have to go back and try to find something, but she does lay back and counterfight very well. So I think for those type of fighters, if you have the chin, you really have to take one to get a couple, and just
that's the answer I was looking for.
Yeah, it's just going to be it's a tough night, but you got to train for hell. That's really the way to do it, and you got to go for it. There's no sitting back and waiting to try to outmatch her on the outside. I think it's going to take a real ugly fight, and to get her out of her comfort zone to win, and that's not going to be easy.
So, Kenny, when I was in Connecticut with Glover Teixeira, one of the things that came up in our interview was his fight with Alexander Gustafsson in 2017. He was knocked out at 107 of round 5 that night. And he basically said that when he went back to the corner after round 4, it was like, hey, man, like, you got to go be willing to get knocked out to win this fight. And, of course, Glover Teixeira was willing to get knocked out, and as such, he put himself in harm's way. And I just, I don't think that Tyler Santos has a particularly risk-averse style, but I don't know, man. You get one shot to change your life, and I do think that you have to sort of lean more towards reckless abandon than like any sort of other like game plan. And I hope if Chookagian gets a second shot, because she's my friend, that she really fucking goes for it, and I think she will.
That would be the thing, because she is getting, believe it or not, because she's in the gym a bunch of times, she is getting better and better. If you look at her style in the last couple of fights, she is sitting down on her punches. She is trying to go for it more, and that's not easy to do when you played that outside game for a long time. So I give her a lot of credit, and I don't know, honestly, I don't know who's going to beat Caitlin besides Valentina. She's making these fights look pretty easy to me.
Kenny, I without giving your prediction, what do you have for us in terms of Valentina? And I guess bigger picture, just trying to, beat somebody that the odds suggest you really aren't going to beat more than once out of maybe 50 times.
Yeah, I never liked the approach as far as preparation for a fight of saying you need to get hit in order to land a shot.
Right.
What you're really trying to say is, how do we get on the fucking inside without getting hit and hit that other guy? That's what we're really trying to say, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you got to prepare for. It's like, all right, well, if you have to be willing to get knocked out to fight, well, guess what? Any dude at the bar can do that if they're courageous enough. So it's what's the footwork to get in there? How are you creating your angles? How are you baiting them into shots? And that's not an easy thing, obviously, especially when you go against someone like a Gustafsson or a Shevchenko. But it's all going to come down to the preparation. Now, during the fight, if you are down and you need something like that, then I do agree. It's that's your only shot, dude. Okay, you got to get on the inside. If he hits you, if he's hitting you, and you don't have the ability to get in cleanly, then you're going to have to eat some shots to land that shot. That I 100% agree with. So it's a tricky thing. I also think Gustafsson had a tremendous night against Teixeira that night. I mean, that combination was maybe one of the best knockouts I've seen. And in that division, period. I mean, that was just a thing of beauty, those uppercuts. But anyways, I'm excited for both those fights, both Shevchenko and Teixeira, obviously.
Yeah, and let me jump in there again. I do agree with Kenny, but I am a realist. And it was like when MERRROW fought Moraes, I knew he was getting hit. There's nothing. I just knew it. So I prepped him. I had to prep him on. That's why I said, are you willing to walk through fire? We said that. Yes, I am. Well, guess what? Now's your time to do it. You know what I mean? Like that shit, because I think you got to go to the psychology of fighting before the technique at that point. I mean, you got to know who you got, right? I know MERRROW was outgunned technically, you know what I mean? So I go to plan B, and then I know not technically standing up, not obviously anywhere else, not cardio wise, not
Right.
And we knew we had to get this fight past the first round. So you have to prep a guy, I think, a little bit for the worst. And then I go with Kenny. We don't want that to happen, but you better be fucking ready for that to happen. And I'll give you a good example. I think it was what's her name? The Venezuela Vixen. She had the right mindset for Amanda Nunes, right? She had the mindset. I'm coming forward. I'm getting what I want. I don't give a fuck if I get hit. And who was technically better in that fight going into that fight? Who was technically better standing up?
Of course.
But you saw what will and determination and being able to just absorb what's being thrown at you to get that's it to me.
Right.
And that's huge. You know what I mean? And that's really, look, the art of fighting is to hit, not get hit. We all get that. That's a fucking, if you could do that your whole career, that's fine. But I'll tell you what, the guys that can rely on their chin and their belief in themselves, that's a different story. And sometimes you just got to lean on that, not all the times, but there's certain people that are going to be technically better than you, and you have to find a way. Yeah, you could go over the footwork. I'm sure everybody could devise a game plan, but then, it's like Mike Tyson said, everybody's got a good footwork and a good plan until they get hit.
Right.
So if you could take that hit, then you go back to doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
But you better be ready to some of these fights, you got to be ready to really just it's a war. I mean, that's it. I don't know how else to break it down, because it's not a technical thing at that point. Some of these fights, you got to really convince people that they can do it. And I think you saw that even with I'm blanking on her name, the Venezuela Vixen.
Juliana Pena.
Juliana. Yeah. You saw that. You kind of knew after the first couple exchanges, I think she's going to do it. Like, you know what I mean? She was determined, man. And she had the belief, and everything has to come together at the right time.
All right, before I get to Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Zhang Weili and Andre Fialho and then get you on out of here, I do want to circle back to Karolina Kowalkiewicz, who sent Felice Harrigan to retirement with a submission. I wanted to congratulate Felice on a wonderful career and just working her way back after the knee injury. But I need to talk about this, and I hope I'm not out of line, and I want to get Ken-Flo's thoughts on it. Right, but Karolina Kowalkiewicz will never be confused for being a submission artist, kind of like present company right here. Okay. So she hadn't had a finish since 2014. We're all very happy for Karolina Kowalkiewicz, right? First UFC finish, right? But I've never heard a coach instructing an athlete on rear naked choke in the UFC, as Pahumpa did, to, put the elbows together on the choke, right? Like, because it seems like somebody on my level, that's one of the first things that I was taught. I've never heard that particular directive. Like, I'm not necessarily trying to talk shit, Flo, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I felt
he was saying to put the elbows together.
Right. Like, no, it just seems to me like that's like day one advice. And
it is. Yeah, it is. I disagree with that advice, but that's the way I was taught. That a lot of people teach it that way. I don't think that's the best way to do a rear naked choke, but yeah.
Can you just?
That's why John left Pahumpa.
Well, no,
that's why.
Holy shit! Well, I think we have our next super fight in jiu-jitsu.
I wish you could expand on that.
Ken-Flo.
I've trained with a Pahumpa. He's awesome. He's awesome.
No, I wish we could expand on that a little bit though, because maybe I'm not putting it well. But I guess it.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
So what? I guess is there anything that you would instruct as opposed to that? I mean, certainly it seems.
I literally do the exact opposite. Now let me be clear. It's like, okay, can I choke someone like this? Absolutely. But again, let's do this. Go grab a pillow, and let's see how much power you have like this, compressing, to how much you have going like this, expanding your chest and pulling apart.
Yeah, what a fucking game.
There you go. That's what you love.
Oh man, it's amazing.
That's what you love.
No, but it's not. Again, maybe that's perception. That's just the way I see it.
Yeah.
But sometimes there's a lot of ways, to skin a cat. So.
No, of course. And in this instance, I guess I was just sort of pointing out the fact, like, the choke's right there, Like, I bet fucking Anik could submit her right now. Like, just fucking put your elbows together and choke her out, And she was able to do so, and we congratulate her.
Imagine Kenny, imagine she put her elbows together and she broke her grip and lost the whole choke. I mean, holy crap. What's the matter with you guys?
Sorry.
Go to surajitsu.com right now and look up rear naked choke.
You know where I'm going to go? Not there. I'll go to KennyFlorianMartialArts.com.
Yeah, Kenny.
KennyFlorianMartialArts.com. And honestly, if that little sequence, first of all, if you heard all of that on audio, please go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, and watch it on video. But if that didn't convince you to go to KennyFlorianMartialArts.com, and see how he could have been a total fucking asshole to me with that, be like, you're a fucking idiot. Like,
that's the way I learned it. No, that's the way I learned it. I think that's the way 90% of people learn it,
Yeah. All right, Ray, two more things before I let you go. Andre Fialho, right, out of Portugal. He trains at Sanford MMA. He made his UFC debut in January. Then he fought in April. Then he fought in May. And now 5 weeks later, he's fighting in June. And I guess I'm just curious, big picture, how you handle an athlete who at the highest level wants to fight that frequently, because most UFC athletes won't even be afforded the opportunity to be Chimaev-esque and do it. And I think for Fialho, even if he's a little sore on fight night and in training camp, he feels like this is how he extracts the best results. The familiarity and the repetitions, being in the octagon as much as possible, as Ken-Flo shakes his head.
Unbelievable.
I mean, look, I think it's a case-by-case basis. Obviously, he fights 4 times and he finishes each fight in 20 seconds. It's probably not a bad idea, you know what I mean? But if he's got a couple of wars in there, then it's going to eventually backfire on him. But I'd have to see, I'd have to see how injured he is, where he's at mentally, and how old is he?
Yeah, I'm looking for his bio right now. I think he's about 28 or 29, 28 years old. And
I'd probably pull him back a little bit, but
the January fight was a hard 3-rounder, and then the Miguel Baeza fight was a hard round, but that was a first round stoppage, as was the Cameron Van Camp one. Yeah, so it is what it is, All right. Last thing before we let you go. Give you $100. Joanna Jędrzejczyk or Zhang Weili. Zhang Weili is minus 170.
Dun, 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 dun.
What do you want? $500 bet or?
Oh, sorry about that. Little flashback I had about the game shows. This is a good one. Man, Joanna hasn't fought in a while. I think
since that first fight.
Since the first fight. What are the odds on that fight? Just
minus 170 for Zhang Weili, plus 150 for Joanna Jędrzejczyk.
Yeah, I like Joanna, but I think I'm gonna have to go with Wile Coyote. What's her name? Zhang
Weili.
What? Who?
Yeah.
Who is it?
Wiley.
Wiley. Oh, I thought you sneezed.
How is that not her nickname? Wiley Coyote.
I know.
I love that. I'm going with her.
Yeah, the Coyote. Wiley
for $100.
All right, $100. So $100 bet on Zhang Weili pay you like not a lot, like 60. But we'll, hey, nice bad boy gear. Is that a Chris Weidman t-shirt you're wearing today?
I think it is. Yeah, it's an oldie but goodie, as we say. That's a throwback. Where's bad boy today? Where are they?
I don't know.
Question.
I remember meeting Robin, the owner, several times. I believe.
He was a good dude.
Yeah.
No, Robin was a nice guy too. What about Sprawl? Anybody have any Sprawl shorts left? Kenny?
I got my
You're looking at the first Sprawl shorts sponsored guy ever.
Wow.
No
look
way.
at that.
Yeah. See, listeners, you hear that, you motherfucker?
That means I'm old. Yeah.
What'd you get for that? $200?
If that.
If that, yeah.
And free shorts though. I got free shorts.
I'm gonna have to wear my one more round Ken-Flo t-shirt next week. All right, Ray, have a great day and a better evening and all that stuff. And I don't know when we're gonna reconvene because I don't get back from Singapore until Monday night, June 13th. So it might be the Longo and Florian show. But we'll keep you posted on that. Look how excited he got.
Look at that guy. No, let's just go, man.
He doesn't have to put up your shit anymore, John. That would be
no. Listen, John, you have a safe trip.
Thank you.
We're gonna miss you.
Thank you, buddy.
We'll do a good job with the podcast. Don't worry about it. So we go. Where's Brian? Where's Petrie?
We can't do it.
Oh, you want Petrie? Yeah. Well, no. You know.
Oh yeah, let's go. We're doing it, Kenny. What are you talking about?
We're lost without this guy.
I know. We are lost with him. Did you hear that commercial he did? He spoke. It was about 3.5 minutes. He didn't take a breath. I was actually I was like, holy crow! This guy can talk. He's going.
Well,
You're a professional.
Some of us are professional martial artists. Some of us
No,
are.
let me and Kenny do the show. Come in totally unprepared, like we always do, and just wing it. See if the people can pick up on it.
laughing the whole time.
Let's go.
We're going 3-box. We now have somebody on our show staff who is more than capable of sitting in the one chair and driving the show. His name's fucking Big Gun Brian Petrie.
Yeah,
and
Big
he'll
Gun.
be with you boys next week. So
let's do it.
Hey, Ray, thank you. I appreciate the good sentiments on the travel, and we'll talk soon, my man.
Seriously, safe travels and have a great time. I'll be talking to you.
Ken-Flo,
get ready, buddy. This is a bust out show. I'm so excited. I'm gonna start prepping right now as soon as we hang up. I swear to God, I'm not joking around. Take it easy, guys.
I know.
I'm out of here.
Good luck prepping the fucking UFC 275 recap before they fight.
He's a trip.
Seriously, go prep it before they fucking fight. The Ray Longo Minute every week here on the Anik and Florian podcast. All right, it is now time for the pronunciation of the week as we call on our executive producer, Cody MERRROW. Hi, Cody.
How's it going, gentlemen? That was a lively Ray Longo Minute, huh?
He looked great. His hair was amazing.
I don't. Well, you guys said, did you battle? Did you fight the Sun? I think the Sun lost.
The Sun lost to Longo. You're right.
Yeah.
So
that did not hit at all, did it? Yeah. You guys got to wake up.
No, it's good.
Just tell me it wasn't funny. No, just tell me it wasn't funny. Moving on to the pronunciation of the week.
I mean, I felt like I kind of got stonewalled when I said looked like you got in a fight with the Sun. But it is what it is. All right. This Chinese fighter is a Contender Series alum who makes his UFC debut in Singapore. And he will do so against Mean Machine, Steve Garcia, Cody MERRROW. Of whom am I speaking?
So I brought this one so that everyone can see. I'm pretty sure that's pronounced Misha Tate, and she's a female who fights out of America. So I don't know, John, you might want to check your data there.
So the fighter goes by a singular name spelled, this is for the audio folks, Maheshate. And man, fuck if it doesn't look like Misha Tate there, Ken-Flo and friend, huh?
It sure does.
So one name on Batman. But I think this is Machate.
All right, let's hear him.
Maheshate Haisar, Maheshate Haisar.
Oh,
Mahashata. I said Mahashata.
Anik, good luck with that.
That sounded like he was doing an incantation. Like I'm afraid to go to bed tonight.
Hey man,
sound like something out of Stranger Things.
It's all about practice, you know.
Damn.
Hey, practice makes better.
That's right.
Never perfect. Never perfect.
That's right. I mean, like over under 8 hours of practice, Bruce Buffer puts in his room for these pronunciations.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want any part of that. Bruce isn't getting that. I love Bruce. He's not getting that one right. Practice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're right. I mean, I would bet on Bruce. I will not be betting on Bruce to get that name correct. Just got to practice. Just got to show up and practice. All right. We have a lot of selections to make for UFC 275. I think 7 of them to that end. Without further delay, let us get to the main event challenge.
It's the main event challenge. Anik.
The time is most definitely now.
Florian.
I finish fights. I'm going to do everything possible to win.
The main event challenge. The John Anik and Kenny Florian podcast.
What's up?
Yo, there he is. He's back from the dead.
Back from the dead, baby. I'm good. My ears are still clogged, which is really annoying.
Damn.
Little flament up here, but I'm like 100% better. I went to work last week and I'm feeling good. Just wish all this shit would pour out of my head, but we're here, baby. 7 fights. Let's go.
Nice.
You should have called out sick last week on the Anik and Florian podcast.
I had a fever, and I never get sick, and I never have a fever. My fever is like 101, and my wife's always like, "Let's watch it back. Let's watch it back." I was like, "I don't know if I want to watch this one back," but I was like, "You know what? We should watch it back because I kind of don't remember like a lot of it."
I believe it.
I was like, I'm pretty sure we talked about Winnie, and my wife's like, "Well, we got to watch it back." I was like, "All right, let's watch it back."
Yeah,
it was rough city, boys.
No, and obviously you focused enough for however many minutes it was to get through it. But I can just tell knowing you.
And it went 2 for all my picks. So what are you gonna do? Here you go. Big guns here, man.
Exactly right. But
here it is.
This dude ain't gonna fucking bang in sick. I mean, it's just
No, never.
And Winnie, if you're watching, sorry about the language. Kind of is what it is. We have a show called Anecdotes on this channel on which we don't swear.
She's used to it. Her father is a professional driver, and when I get in my own personal vehicle, it becomes an aggressive get the F out of the way driver. Yeah, I keep it calm when I'm representing a company. When I'm in my own car, it's like, hey, let's hit the bricks. What are you doing? Cincinnati is notoriously for having really bad drivers. Quick question, John. I don't want to get off the rails here. I wanted to ask you this last week, but my brain was melting. So last week or 2 weeks ago, there was a picture going around the internet of you and Jason Anik, the great Jason Anik, when you were kids.
Right.
Jason was in the forefront with glasses with a lady, and you were in the background, and everyone's like, hey, who is this? So I got to wonder, because I don't know a ton of twins, who got the most chicks growing up between you two?
That's a good question.
It was pretty close. I would say he was a little bit more selective at times, if that's fair. But it's not like I was some huge volume guy necessarily.
Sure.
But I guess if I would have any guy. I guess if I would have any regret. No, I mean, there was a night at Gettysburg College where I think I kissed three ladies in one evening. I was but no, not inordinately a volume guy. But hope your wife enjoys this particular main event challenge, Brian. But no, one thing that I was talking about with Paul Felder actually last night, and he said, do you ever regret not going to one of those twin conventions with your brother when you guys were single?
Yeah.
And I said, we can still go get something done there. I mean, you just don't know, right? I mean,
you never
walk
know.
in there now, and
that was a question I had, Bernie, because Jay in the picture, Jay was with the chick, and I'm like, you know what? They're very identical. And again, I don't come from really anybody. I have a buddy who has twins, but they're not identical. And I just was wondering. I was curious.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when we were together, the woman that we both got the girl that we were each at. We weren't necessarily into the same women.
That's good. That's good. Yeah,
and so it is what it is, right?
There it is.
All right. All right. So we have 7 selections today. I did have one off-topic thing to get to with Brian Petrie. We have 27 minutes here before Game 2 of the Celtics. So
yes.
But it looks like oyster crackers or some Cincinnati-made oyster crackers are your go-to snack. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, so we have Grippos, which is a barbecue chip. Not a lot of people. Cincinnati, by the way, we're known for our chili, but we have some of the best food everywhere. I have an Italian restaurant. If you boys ever come to town, my treat, knock your dick off. I mean, this Italian joint is good.
How much do I want that? I don't know.
Yeah, right. You might want it, Ken-Flo. You might want it.
Okay.
But the oyster crackers, you put a little hot sauce on them. And it's like a delicacy in Cincinnati. They're made in Cincinnati. Skyline crackers, or when you sit down at Skyline, they give you a bowl of crackers. It's kind of the thing. But usually, my go-to are Grippos, and they're spicy and they clean me out a little bit. I was all out. So I had the midday crackers. All
right.
But
That's
they're tasty, boys.
I'm glad I asked. No, Skyline sort of rung true with me. I've heard of that before. All right, 7 selections today, boys, and we're going to begin with a prelim at welterweight that we just discussed. Andre Fialho -155, taking on Jake Matthews +135. 4th UFC appearance for Fialho, Bry. All of them here in 2022. Just knocked out Cameron Van Camp May 7th. 5 weeks later, he draws Matthews, who has 15 fights worth of UFC experience here on which to draw, and he is still, remarkably, just 27 years of age. Brian Petrie, who do you have here, Fialho or Matthews?
The Terminator's back. Fialho just doesn't stop, this guy. I love that he's staying active. I heard you ask Ray if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I think right now it's just kind of a groove where training, confidence, in his body are all on the same page, and that doesn't really happen. And he can only speak for so much how his body actually feels, but he's obviously finding this groove that he wants to keep it going here. And I think he rolls here, boys. I think I'm going to literally get off this podcast, drive to Indiana, because this line is going to jump. -155. I feel like I'm stealing here. I'm going to go put an irresponsible amount of money on this. But Matthews was supposed to be the next big thing, right? He was supposed to be Australia's next big thing. And then it kind of never really happened. He fell short. And besides the Leech, all of his wins are guys who are not within the promotion anymore. You know what I mean? So it's like you can't really cap this guy. And I do think he has some good skills. I think he mixed it up pretty well, but he has fallen short at times. And then when you look at the Sean Brady fight, his last fight, who I have Sean Brady in high regard, you can really tell the separation of the division where Jake Matthews is at and Sean Brady here. I like Fialho big here. Another big KO, another big performance. The Terminator keeps rolling, baby.
Yeah, Kenny, I was off on my forecast for this betting line. I thought Fialho would be closer to -200. -155 is quite an appetizing price, at least for Bry. How do you handicap it?
Yeah, listen, we called Jake Matthews' first fight in the UFC. So we've been watching him develop. So, I guess I'm emotional in that regard. I like the kid. I still think he has a lot of potential. Has he developed the way I thought he would, though? I'm not so sure. And that just might take more time. But I agree with Brian here. I think that Fialho, is the favorite for a reason. I think the kid just hits very hard, and I think the tougher the fight gets, the better he gets. And Jake just has to be so much more technically superior than him, and I don't think he is. I think it's going to be a tough out for him. If Jake's ever able to put Andre on his back, and maybe he can do some stuff there, but I think it's a tough out for him. I like Andre here as well.
All right, next up, Brendan Allen, minus 240 here in the middleweight division, taking on Jacob Mamba Malkoun, who is plus 195. Brendan Allen is only 26. He's 18-5 as a pro, made his pro MMA debut at 19. He's 6-2 in the UFC. And on the other side, Bri, you got Jacob Malkoun, had the wrestling going en route to a couple straight wins. Who do you have here, Malkoun or Allen in the featured prelim on ESPN2?
I mean, are we really getting Brendan Allen at a minus 240? I mean, no disrespect to BA, but the last time he was that high, he ran into my boy Chris Curtis, and that didn't end so well for him. But listen, the action man, he saved my life. That's a story I have to tell one day on the podcast.
Wow.
But Brendan Allen is, he's very good. He's young. He's willing to fight. He steps up on short notice. He looked pretty good in the Sam Alvey fight. He choked out Sam Alvey. He's willing to go up to 205, willing to go 185. But 240 is just too much of a guy. He's just a little bit inconsistent. Jacob Malkoun gets slept on a lot. He got brought in as Robert Whitaker's buddy, got slept by Phil Hawes, but has rattled off some dominating wins and really grappling base, ignoring, let me jump on your legs, let me take you down, hold you down. I'm not going to threaten you with a lot, but good luck trying to get up because my cardio is going to be able to keep doing this. Brendan Allen, the only fight we've seen him off his back is against Chris Daukaus. He's a very good grappler. He's got all types of submissions, but the Daukaus fight, when he got taken back, it was a lot of sweeps, but we've never really seen him plan it there. Now, there's a lot of jiu-jitsu guys in this world who are exceptional everywhere. Kenny's going to address that more, because he knows a lot more about it than I do. But when you're looking at a 7-fight card that we're going to pick here, I'm looking at dogs. And I think Malkoun at plus 195, almost a 2-to-1 is a nice little dog here. I think he could really come in there. And if he plays the same game that he always does, cardio is king. And I like Malkoun by decision.
And in theory, Jacob Malkoun's going to be a lot better than he was his last time out. He's 26 as well, about 4 months older than Brendan Allen. Reps Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, Smeaton Grange. Beautiful gym. They've redone it that he part owns with Whitaker and others, I believe. And I just think it's a fighter gaining a lot of confidence, Ken-Flo.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very high on Brendan Allen, big picture. I just love the skill set and the toughness and everything else. But I don't know. Intriguing fight at 85, Ken-Flo. Which way are you going?
I think it is as well. And I totally get why Brian's going the way of Jacob Malkoun. I think he's going to be tough. And Brendan Allen sometimes has a tendency of getting a little crazy out there, gets overly aggressive, throws himself out of position, and he starts to eat big shots. And then he gets even more emotional, opens himself up, and then he gets hit and potentially loses the fight. So I don't know. I thought that Brendan Allen, I agree. I think he's got a ton of potential. When he's at his best, man, and if he is at his best, I think he wins this fight. I think both on the feet and on the ground, I think he could get it done here. But it's going to take some, discipline, mental discipline, good conditioning, which I think he'll come in with. And just he needs to learn from his experience and get it done there. I think Jacob has a good shot of getting it done, but I like Brendan here. I like Brendan here. Yeah.
And you can be sure that we like the disagreement. And I know I speak for Cody. Loves when you guys are on opposite sides. All right, at welterweight, representing Perth, Australia, Jack Della Maddalena, minus 135, taking on Ramazan Emeev, who is plus 115. Ramazan Emeev, sneaky 5-2 here in the UFC, but he is coming off a loss. Della Maddalena has not lost in a while, started his pro career 0-2. He's now reeled off 11 in a row after making good on the UFC debut earlier this year. Kenny Florian going to lead the dance here because listeners get all bunched panties when he doesn't lead a couple fights. Della Maddalena or Ramazan Emeev for you, Flo?
Gosh, how about those names, those name pronunciations from Anik? So listen, I really like this fight. I think there's a lot of value here with Emeev. He's a tremendous grappler. I still want to know how Della Maddalena is going to do on the ground, on his back. Can he get back to his feet? Can he be a threat on the ground submission-wise against someone like Emeev? I'm not sure, but I tell you what, on the feet, De La Maddalena is a problem. I think he's slick with his striking, his angles. I haven't seen someone move and counter like that in a long time. So I'm just going off of that. I think he gets it done on the feet. I think he finds a way to catch Ameev and find that chin. And let's go with De La Maddalena. Let's go.
I think it's really good matchmaking, and I think there's so many people out there who think they would be the greatest UFC matchmaker in the world, and there's a lot that goes into it. But I think this is really a good litmus test right now for both guys, but particularly for the Perth native Jack Della Maddalena. Brian Petrie, your mic is hot. Which way you going?
I got the googly eyes, boys. I've talked about it before. Jack, 3-name Jack, man. I tell you something about this guy. You know, one official fight in the UFC. He's looked good in the Contender Series, but the way this guy moves in the pocket, you know what I mean? And there's not a lot of UFC fighters that are very comfortable in that boxing pocket. They're either in or they're out. They're in or they're out. He lives in that pocket. It's almost like $100 that lives in Kenny Florian's pocket. It just feels right, boys. And he looks really smooth in there. And we were talking about, you guys were talking about earlier, like fighters that need to go for it. This is a guy that likes to go for it because he's in there and he's moving, he's shifting. And I think that's going to play well for him with Ameev because Ameev's going to want to clinch, try to take him down. And there's a lot of questions that we need to be answered here in Jackie D. One being the fact that what was the takedown? You know, he's got an early loss. He's got a submission loss early in his record. He also has some submission wins. But Ameev is an awkward, tricky, fucking frustrating guy. You know what I mean? He has a decision loss coming off of Danny Roberts. Split decision, which was very close. But you have 5 UFC wins with no finishes. The minute you leave the cage, people forget about you. I think you need to come out there and you need to make a stamp on it. And the way the judges have been judging, clinch control goes out the window. We had a fight this weekend with Jeff Molina. It was very close because Zalgis was clinching him. Holly Holm had a lot of clinch control. They're scoring damages. I think with Jack Della Maddalena, likes to be in the pocket, likes to be inside. I like the little short inside shots. It's going to hurt him. Give me Jackie D by KO here, baby. I love it.
All right, both guys like Jack Della Maddalena in the main card pay-per-view opener. And by the way, if you are curious, his last name is Della Maddalena, right? Like he has 2 last names.
So he doesn't have 3 names. Gotcha.
So, well, no, I think 3-name Jack is a great way.
3-name Jack, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got you.
He just basically told us that, you know, I wouldn't say, oh, nice jab from Maddalena. I would do the whole Della Maddalena.
Gotcha.
So, all right. Moving on down the pay-per-view main card, big fight at flyweight. Manel Kape -220. Rogerio Bontorin is +180. So Bontorin had a win overturned last year for a positive test for a banned diuretic. So technically speaking, and what other way would we speak here on the Anik and Florian podcast, but technically, especially when it comes to my jiu-jitsu stuff. Last win for him, though, technically, came August 2019 against Raulian Paiva. On the other side, I love me some Manel Kape. 2 straight finishes over 2 guys who looked pretty good last night in Jalga Shumagulov and Ode Osborne. Bry, talk to me. You going chalk with Manel Kape or what?
Oh, yeah, I'm a Manel Kape fan. I'm on the train, baby. It sucks that his last fight got pulled from some picograms, but he's here. Obviously, you know, he did the USADA stuff, whatever that may be. I'm sure he's going to get a little heat for it. I'm sure that's going to be some trash talk in the future. And Kape's biggest weakness is, you know, or has been, at least in the past, is getting taken down, getting submitted. And Bontorin's the guy that does that. I like this matchup for him because this is a prove it matchup. Let's prove that you can stop this big muscle-bound Brazilian from taking you down, taking your head off, submitting you, ground and pounding you. I have some little birdies in Vegas, some friends in Vegas that train with Manel Kape, and apparently his explosiveness is powerful. His cardio is off the charts. Like he's the man when he's in the gym, when he's focused. And that's the thing is we've seen it, but then besides these last 2 wins, it's been kind of lulling, you know, and I think Bontorin can kind of get you in that space because he throws a lot of power. However, I think this is, you know, the question is he going to stop the takedowns? I think he will. I think Manel Kape by KO here. I think it's going to be a gorgeous knee or some kind of overhand right. I think he's going to catch Bontorin there. So I'm huge on Kape here.
Ken-Flo, Manel Kape -220. Rogerio Bontorin +180. Your thoughts?
Portugal versus Brazil. I love it. Listen, I was high on Kape, and then he came into the UFC, and I felt like he was a little tight. He wasn't letting his hands go as much. But now I think we're seeing the real Manel Kape. I think he's firing all cylinders now. He's comfortable in the octagon, and he's going to be a problem, man. He's a guy that definitely could be fighting for the belt in the future. Rogerio Bontorin, I think he's a tough matchup. But I don't see him as a big time danger. I think Kape is the more dangerous guy. Kape is the guy who's going to go for the finish here. And I like the Portuguese fighter, Manel Kape.
All right, next up, You might hear an uptick in my energy here a little bit. Featured bout at 115 pounds, a rematch of one of the greatest fights in mixed martial arts history, men or women. The former champ Zhang Weili minus 170 against the also former strawweight queen Joanna Jędrzejczyk, who is plus 150. So as most of you know by now, JJ has not fought since that first meeting, which was 2020. Zhang Weili has twice fought since that, both against Rose Namajunas, Kenny. Both of them losses. Zhang Weili, the favorite, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, the underdog. Who do you have?
Boy, this is a fight, man. Listen, I think Joanna has been away for a little bit too long. Does she have the skills to win this fight? Absolutely. In fact, I thought she won the first meeting out. I thought Zhang Weili out in that first meeting. However, Zhang Weili is the one who's been more active. She's the one, every time we see her, it seems like she has a new wrinkle to her game. She's always learning. She's training hard all the time. She's very focused. I'm not saying Joanna isn't, but you know, I don't know. I just worry for it. I always know, for me personally, and from the fighters that I was around, I always felt better when I was active, when I was in the octagon, when I was competing on a regular basis. Why? Because that familiarity with the training camp, being in the octagon, dealing with all the fight week stuff, you've been there and done that. You feel ready to rock. And I think for Joanna, I don't know. I worry about her being in the right mental spot. And it doesn't mean I think she's mentally weak or anything. I just know that from a confidence perspective, it's just different when you've been away for that long. And she's been enjoying her life and all that stuff. I don't know. Training, knowing you have a fight on the horizon is way different than just training. And that's what concerns me most here. I'm a huge Joanna fan, and it pains me to say this, but I think Zhang Weili is poised here to get the win. I think that she is the fighter that can make more adjustments in this fight as well. And I think she's going to be able to make them here. And I was impressed with her wrestling in that fight against Rose Namajunas. She seemed like she was totally different. She's adding that wrinkle. You could see she's working on those skills, training with Henry Cejudo and those guys in Arizona. I think is doing her well. I like Zhang Weili here for the win here against you.
Nicely done, Ken-Flo. And you can always lead your handicap with the layoff as you did, right? I mean, this is a huge layoff. Like I understand why most people that I've talked to about this fight are leading with that. You know, I don't know how immune she is to it. I also think the Singapore angle is something that you could, in theory, factor into the handicap. I know she arrived early, but it is going to a different part of the world and, fighting at a different part of the day. Brian Petrie, which way you going on the featured bout in the strawweight division?
So Kenny leads with a really good point about the layoff. I'm going to lead with something a little different. Now, full disclosure, boy, were we in the trust tree? Because I'm going to get a little vulnerable here.
Yeah.
I got a pretty big crush on Joanna, okay? Good. She does something to me, boys. Okay, swagger, confidence. I don't know. She makes me feel things, okay?
She looks good.
I'm excited that she's back. I'm 100% biased, right? I mean, that's just the way it's going to be. Okay. So if you come at me in the comments, yeah, you're right. Okay. You're right. Save your energy. But listen, the first fight I think is going to be, there's always so many good fights coming up in every year, but that will always be top 5 greatest fights of all time for sure. If not number one, it was an incredible fight. I do think Joanna won that fight. I think she edged it out, but again, it's not going to be something that I'm like, it's a robbery or whatever. We don't say those words around here, but she's been off for 2 years. And after that fight, you kind of needed to be like, she needs to take some off. She had an alien head. You know what I mean? And Weili's only fought twice since she's been off, and both were against Rose. Once she got knocked out in the first round. The once was a competitive split decision win, but she showed some new wrinkles to her game, training with Cejudo and them. But I don't mind the layoff with Joanna, considering that Weili Zhang's only had 2 fights. Either there were 2 title fights against Rose, who's a badass, but there's still only 2 fights. Joanna, though, she's a model in Poland, and she's doing this. So that's Kenny hit some really good points. How motivated she going to be? At first, I hated that this was a 3-round fight. I wanted a 5, and I still think as a fan I wanted as a 5. But I think with Joanna, I think it's going to be good that it's going to be a 5-round fight. I think the first round is going to be a lot of feeling out. I think the second round is one person's going to take over, and the third round is going to be a lot like the first fight where they're just going to let it go. So we're really going to see how the judges going to shape this one out. It's a close fight, in my opinion. I'm glad Kenny went that way. I'm going to go dog with my sweet baby Joanna. So give me Joanna my decision.
Yeah, I like it. I see some value on that side, I think, in the plus 150 range, despite the layoff. All right, co-main event for the Flyweight Championship. Title defenses really starting to mount up for Valentina Shevchenko, chasing a 7th ruby on the belt here. She's minus 720 against Brazil's Taila Santos, plus 500. Seems to be some excitement, Brian, for Santos's chances. The question is, what type of chance do you give Taila Santos, and ultimately, how do you see it playing out?
I think Chev rolls here again, boys. She's so good. I wish it didn't come out and say, hey, there's value in Santos. I'm a value boy. Plus 500. It's going to go up. But realistically, I've been on that side. I fought for the Lauren Murphys. I fought for the Caitlin Jakagians. And I'm screaming into empty void because Shevchenko is almost imperfect. And as a handicap, you're like, oh, she's minus 700. She's not minus 1200. This is going to be a pretty good deal here. And I've been banging on the Nunes pound for pound fighter for a long time. It's now got to give the Shevchenko, in my opinion, just because it is what it is. And I think the Ohio native over there in the PFL, I think she's quickly closing the gap as well. But I watched Santos tape, and I watched all her fights in UFC. She's got one loss in UFC. Wasn't a good performance by her. And I instead of a capper, I was like, if I'm a coach, I'm gonna see what can I tell her to do. After watching her tape and obviously watching Shevchenko, it's like the only option I have is you got to make it ugly. You can't be afraid. You got to get in there and make it ugly. Shevchenko wants to do everything perfect. She never has a mark on her face. You got to make it ugly. And if Santos can do that, because she's a pretty well built together 125-pound female, if she's able to do that, then this can get interesting. This could be almost like something that we saw Julia Pena, who just said, you know what, fuck it, let's go. That Julia Pena spirit, I think a lot of these women, when they fight the boogeyman in the division, like a Shevchenko is, you have to, or boogie woman, excuse me, you have to kind of get ugly. You're going to have to say, fuck all this technique, let's go.
Yeah.
And I think the more you hit Shevchenko and the more you chip away at her, I think you could probably hurt her confidence because she's been so perfect so long. But I just think Shevchenko's too good. She's too good. I think she's too goddamn good, boys. Give me Shevchenko by TKO round 3.
Will you bet on it or no?
I haven't bet it in a while. I will bet the finish. I will bet the finish. Yeah. Right. I'll see what that is. Round 3. I'd only sprinkle like one round. So I see it late. I see it round 3. So yeah, I do that.
Kenny, Valentina's so methodical, like scary methodical. She fought twice in 2016, twice in 2017, 2018, twice, 2019, right? Like everything's methodical. No weaknesses, at least that I can really see. And she's not getting worse. Like she's the opposite of a fighter who sort of rests on the laurels. She's constantly evolving and trying to train in different places with different training partners that make her uncomfortable. All the maintenance that comes with that. She gets to Singapore way fucking early, always looking for an edge. Her opponent, though, is 19-1. Say what you want about the strength of schedule. She has not lost a lot. She's won 4 in a row. Unable to put away Roxanne Modafferi last year. Now she'll try to put away Valentina Shevchenko, who wins the flyweight title fight.
I think Taila Santos is an interesting dog. I think that, her Muay Thai techniques are very clean. I think that she could pose some threats to Shevchenko on the ground. I think she's really well built. She's strong as hell. She kind of matches Shevchenko in the strength department, it seems, from the outside looking in. But what concerns me is the experience factor for Shevchenko. And I also think I have yet to see Shevchenko unmotivated or maybe take her foot off the gas as far as training goes, or her passion for the sport. She very much has that still, from what I can tell. So I think her best bet, when you and Ray were talking about it and when you and Brian were talking about it, I agree with that. But I also think it's important to mention that Shevchenko tends to, she doesn't have the best starts. She analyzes. She starts off a little slow. She looks at how you're moving. She doesn't throw a lot of volume in round 1. She wants to cruise and figure you out. Round 1 is where you can get it done against Shevchenko.
That's agree.
When she's trying to heat it up. She's trying to, go right at her, take it right to her, let her know you're there to fight, test her chin early. That's when you can get it done. And I think you have to get it done before round 4. When it gets into round 4 and 5, I just don't think you're going to be able to outpoint someone like Shevchenko. She cruises, she figures you out, and then she picks you apart. So I think that's Santos's best bet. Go in there early, Vanderlei Silva style, berserker mode, and try to get it done. But once you start going to the later rounds, I think Shevchenko is just going to pull away, especially with someone like Talos Santos, who doesn't have, that big fight experience in the UFC like Shevchenko has. Very few do. So it's not enough for me to go Santos, of course. I like Shevchenko. I haven't seen, much weakness in her game. So let's go Valentina again. The Peruvian Valentina Shevchenko, not the one from Kyrgyzstan. She's Peruvian. And
there you
people
go.
don't know that.
I think she should walk out to Sandstorm and just go full Wanderlei Silva throttle. I love it.
Right.
All right. Main event for the undisputed UFC light heavyweight title: Yuri Prochazka -195, Glover Teixeira +165. First defense for the 42-year-old Glover Teixeira. It comes against Prochazka, who obviously has accrued a lot of experience outside the UFC. I love this stylistic matchup. I just want to hear what you guys have to say about Brian Petrie. Lead us off on the UFC 275 main event.
I am jacked to the tits for this one, boys. Listen, this fight doesn't make sense. The line doesn't make sense. It's breaking my brain. You take this handicapping book, you throw it away because you got an over 40-year-old fighter who's fighting his best fights. You got a guy who's only 2-0 in the UFC getting a title shot, who those two fights, you can argue, were kind of tailor-made for him. It just doesn't make sense. The playbook's out the window here, but I am so impressed with Glover Teixeira. A lot of people who are new to the scene don't know. It took him a long time to start his UFC career. He wasn't out leaving Brazil for many years. He was Chuck Liddell's training partner. He came in as a boxer, and he's really kind of found his game now. He still obviously have powerful hands, but he used to box first, then I'll take down you later, then I'll jiu-jitsu you later. The Beastin 25-8 fight. I'm not going to name that guy's name just because I just don't agree with a lot of things he's been saying lately. But that fight really separated Glover. Glover got dog walked in that fight and said, oh, wait, my wrestling isn't good or as good. I thought it was. And he goes, you know what? Instead of going, that's a bad matchup for me. He goes, I'm going to fucking go and get better. And he's routed off the next 6 wins without losing the title. And he's looked damn good doing it, being 40 plus years old. And then you enter Yuri Prochazka, who's a fucking wild man to find. He punches trees. He screams at thunderstorms. He's got a goddamn antenna growing out of his head, he says, with his hair, so he can download information. The guy is absolute wild. I was on Yuri before he came to UFC. He came on my radar with the King Mo fights over in Risen. And then he enters with the Volkov fight where he got punched a lot in the that first round, got clipped a little bit, knocked him out in the second round. And what I love about a guy who's kind of quirky, kind of offbeat like Yuri is he at least admits, he has some self-awareness, self-presence where he goes, I got hit way too much. I don't fucking like that. I don't want to get hit like that. Enters the Dominic Reyes fight where if you watch that fight, it was a crazy fight, but his head movement was 10 times better. He got hit with an up kick, got knocked out, and was on top of him, knocked out, woke up, finished the fight a couple minutes later, and he says in the post fight, yeah, that guy knocked me out. I know where I was at. I woke up on top. The guy's just next level mental toughness, awareness, and his skills are there. I tweeted out a picture of Yuri, and I said, meet your new champ a couple weeks ago. And comments flooded. No way. Glover's going to beat him. Glover's going to take him down and submit him. He has no takedown defense. He obviously went the fight ready, which I love. He was training with John Jones for a little bit. And Yuri has that body type that's really hard to take down. DCO says it all the time. These tall, long guys are like taking a table down. You just can't do it. They have this leverage. It's weird. And Glover has a great double, great single. So obviously the two paths to victory is Glover going to take him down or is Yuri can stand up, right? Because Yuri's pressure is phenomenal. We've seen him get taken down. He gets off his back pretty well, but there's no submission defense. He hasn't really fought a guy like Glover yet. So there's a lot of intangibles. That's why I think the line's a little off here. I thought Glover's could be maybe slight pick 'em here, but I get it. So the two questions I need to answer for myself: is it too soon? Is it too soon for Yuri? Is Glover too old?
Right.
The answer is no. It's not too soon for Yuri and new, baby. Let's go.
Yuri Prochazka and new for Brian Petrie.
And new.
Have a new UFC light heavyweight
by
champion.
KO, by the way. Excuse me. By KO.
Yeah.
I think he's going to do it probably early if he's going to have to do it.
And the knockout will probably be like -125 or so.
Yeah,
so.
Because he'll have to do it. I'll play knockout. I'll play Yuri. I'll play knockout early. I think we'll catch him with something early because the longer the fight goes, I mean, we've seen the Anthony Smith fight. I mean, Glover Teixeira just doesn't slow down. He just knocks your fucking teeth out. So I love this fight. I love this fight, boys.
All right, Kenny Florian 3 times fought for a UFC championship. Yuri Prochazka fighting for a UFC title for the first time this weekend. Your thoughts on Prochazka and Teixeira, Ken-Flo, and ultimately who wins and how?
Big Yuri Prochazka fan. Do you remember that I picked him in his UFC debut? Do you remember when he was going to fight the other guy, and everyone's like, Yuri doesn't have a chance. He's fighting Ray.
Yeah.
He says Ray's going to kill him.
Yeah.
Nah, I picked Prochazka. I'm a huge Yuri fan. I think he's, talk about berserker, barrage. This guy, he wants to kill you. He doesn't want to beat you. He wants to kill you. I love his style. I'm a huge fan. I think that, he absolutely can be a champion in the UFC. Maybe he gets it done this weekend. But I still believe in Glover. I think that Teixeira is not only fighting at his best right now, but I think he knows exactly what he needs to do. I think he's going to fight smart. That's what you need to do against Yuri. If Yuri lulls you into that game, or if you're not ready for some unorthodox shit, you're getting knocked out, and you might not wake up for a couple minutes. Yuri is one of the scariest fighters I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah, man.
But I do think there's some big time weaknesses, as Brian alluded to, on the ground. You cannot fight at this level in the UFC and have that kind of a weakness and be a world champion, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Maybe he gets it done. Again, he is so dangerous, but I see that vulnerability with his wrestling, and especially on the ground. If he's on his back, Glover finishes him.
Yeah.
I mean, look what Glover did, against the Polish fighter, Błachowicz. I mean, it was like, it looked like he made Błachowicz look like he never did jiu-jitsu in his life.
Right.
It made it look easy. So I think Teixeira knows the path to victory here. I also think Teixeira is pretty clean with his striking as well. His footwork looks a little better. There's times where I get a little nervous where maybe he's not moving as fast as I would like. And if it's that Glover and he's a little bit slow, Yuri's going to catch him. Yuri is just that dangerous. So I'm really excited to watch this fight. I do not see this one going 5 rounds. Someone's getting a finish here. Who is that someone? I think Teixeira gets it done on the ground by either TKO or submission.
And wouldn't that be amazing? And I find it fascinating that Glover Teixeira, to Brian's point, never trained jiu-jitsu before he got to Danbury, Connecticut. He never trained jiu-jitsu in Brazil, and look at him now. It's a great main event. It all comes your way on ESPN Plus pay-per-view, UFC 275 this Saturday night. If you want to check out more work from Brian Petrie, I would encourage you to do so. You can find him on social media at Brian Petrie MMA, and it's the MMA Takes podcast.
Yeah.
Hey, brother, appreciate the time. Best to the family.
Absolutely.
Get healthy, and we will recap 275 at some point when I get back from Singapore. But as you may have heard, it might be the Petrie, Longo, and Florian show next week.
Feed me Ray Longo. I need to get on the screen with that guy. I need to get on the screen with that guy. I'm pretty sure my mom knows who he is. She grew up in Long Island.
Oh,
They're
wow.
same age. Left when she was 17. I think he might have blew her off one time. He's so good looking. I gotta get to the bottom. Give me
John, we got to hold Petrie to that Italian restaurant in Cincinnati as well.
I'm telling you guys.
Ken-Flo and I haven't been there since Matt Brown and Eric Silva. We got to go back.
We got some good barbecue as well. Barbecue. I mean, we're not Texas, but I'm telling you, this Italian joint, boys, it'll get you.
I'm in. Hey, brother, great to see you. Thanks for lifting up the whole room, and we will talk to you soon. All right.
You guys are the best. And have a safe travel. See you, Ken. Ken, you're traveling this weekend too, right?
No. Well, I am actually. I'm going to
Chicago, right? Yeah. Okay, Midwest. Ken, I'll be in the Midwest. All right. Enjoy Singapore, Johnny.
My man. Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Where you go? What are you doing in Chicago? You got
doing some seminars. Said Friday, Saturday, Sunday, doing some seminars in Chicago, dude. Staying busy.
What if people want to go? Are there tickets still available? Or is this shit already banged up?
I believe there are. They're still available. Go to Chicago Foundation Gym.
There's your all right. Brian Petrie
you can find it on my Instagram.
I mean, Brian Petrie is now the vice president of Team Florian, I think.
He is. He's doing good.
All right, before we get on out of here, it looks like game 2 between the Celtics and the Warriors is just about to start, but we do want to get to the MERRROW seconds and call on our producer once more. What's up, kid?
I'm going to keep it expeditious for you, I know that the tip-off hasn't happened yet, but I'm going to try and get through it.
Thank you.
All right, so the reason that Kenny will not be at International Fight Week is because Kayla Harrison booked a fight against Julia Budd, PFL 6, July 1st in Atlanta. So unfortunately, no Ken-Flo. Felice Herrig, so she gets in the octagon after that win, I've lost, and is like, I'm retired. So great career to Felice. But she said that she was like gonna decide as she oh, I'm gonna see how I feel when I walk in the octagon. Like, hey, maybe you tell me before I lay a unit on you to win. Like, hey, maybe a little heads up. A coach, maybe give me a call. Hey, like, she's kind of like on the fence about still fighting. Like,
Right.
maybe hold off on that. Like, would have been helpful at a minus 115 clip.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I should say so. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
That's all I gotta say about that.
She was in a really good place in the fighter meeting, but that's neither here nor there. What else you got, kid?
So the Glover Teixeira all-time rankings are getting updated every time he seemingly steps in. So moves into tied for third all-time total fights in the light heavyweight division. Currently second all-time wins at light heavyweight. First and finishes third in KOs, first in subs. Tied for first in bonuses, second in strikes. Landed on UFC stats. Glover is in the top 10 of 15 of 32 recorded categories. So just banging down on that UFC Hall of Fame number.
Yeah, most decorated finisher, Kenny, in UFC light heavyweight history already.
It's awesome. Hey, Cody, if you need a place to stay, dude, if you lost all your rent money, you let me know. You can stay at my place. We got
dude, there's a golf course there too.
Get kicked out, you're homeless. Let me know.
Oh my God. There is. Sleep with the dogs. That'll be great.
Yeah.
That fucking palace in Charlotte, North Carolina, with the fucking jujitsu gym. Can I at least get a private? Can I get a picture of the jujitsu closet, Kenny? Can you send me a picture of the jiu-jitsu gym? Thanks.
Well, the thing is, I can't sleep inside until I get at least a stripe. So it's like until I can defend, I'm gonna have to get choked out like 50 times before I can even get in the house.
Oh man!
Updated youngest champ ever rankings. So John Jones was 23 at the time of becoming champ. Aaron Blanchfield just turned 23. So I'm not sure how the days line up, but doesn't seem like it's just gonna make it happen. So the number one now was Muhammad Mokaev, 21 years old, July 30th, 2000. There was a Pixar movie released between their two birthdays. Do you want to guess what that Pixar movie was and feel old?
No.
It made me feel old. Toy Story 2.
Wow.
It was released in 2000 between their two.
I've started writing birthdays on my fighter cards just to make myself feel worse. This fighter was born in 1999,
Yeah.
I had already started killing myself, right? In terms of ruining
John's
my
banging Mickey's duct tape 40s to his hands. He's like, kids being born. Hell of a life.
God.
Last but not least, Patty Bergeron wins his fifth record Selke Award by the largest margin in his career. And then last night he shows up at a local MMA event by Cage Titans, I believe it is. Cage Titans.
Patrice Bergeron, Ken-Flo, the Boston Bruins future Hall of Famer. Yes.
I've met him.
Yeah. So he was at an MMA event last night, Cody, right?
That's awesome.
A big MMA guy, apparently. Big MMA fan. And so that just leads me to say, if there's any Boston sports athletes that listen to the Anik and Florian podcast, it's an open invitation. Just give us a DM, hit up John. You can come on Patty Bergeron. You can come on the podcast while you decide whether you're going to come back and win us a Stanley next year. That's all I'm saying. New York, kick rocks. We don't fucking want you.
There you go. Let him have it. I love it.
Yankees suck.
Anik, what are the standings? Cody doesn't bring any standings?
No,
we're
gonna.
What's going on?
We're gonna get to the bottom of that. Will Berger is on it. He has reached out. We just got to figure out if we're gonna backtrack several weeks or figure it all out. By the way, Cody, do you know what the Selke Trophy is for? Because he's won it 5 times. It is for.
Yeah, I know. Do you want me to answer? Or you want it?
Yeah, no, go ahead if you got it.
Is the best defensive forward, the best all-around forward in hockey, essentially.
Yeah, it's a great award, and he's now won it 5 times. All right, we got to get the fuck out of here, huh? Remember the show with Bilal Muhammad and Jason Anik coming up Thursday on this very channel, AnikFlorianPodcast.com for all of your merchandise needs. You got a promo code, Cody? You got a promo code.
FAM15.
FAM15, 15% off your entire order. The Longo Culture shirts are being printed as we speak. One more sleep merch at millions.co. And KennyFlorianMartialArts.com for all of your jiu-jitsu needs. He'll be in Chicago, so maybe he'll provide further clarity on his Instagram page, you can find at Kenny Florian. Thank you to our guests, Ray Longo, Brian Petrie, our producers, Cody MERRROW, and thanks to every last one of you for listening, for watching, for subscribing. Let's keep this train going for Ken-Flo and John Anik. Enjoy UFC 275. We'll talk to you from Singapore, and then next week on the other side. Thank you all. Yo, later.